for someone visiting my channel, you never know what you're going to get. Like when I tell someone, oh, you should check out my channel, I start thinking in my head, I wonder which video they're going to watch and what the hell they're going to think of me, because they're all so different. There's so many where I'm just sitting there talking to the camera, and then there's ones where I'm like going out and doing something, like the Randonautica or the vlog or the coronavirus.
It makes
or
me think
something.
of Forrest Gump, like life is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your channel,
that's
they're gonna get
yeah,
like a piece. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, this is the second episode of the podcast, and today's actually a very special one because now I'm talking to a subscriber who I've never met before. This is NostalgicNathan. Hi, Nathan. So we're going to talk about pretty much anything he wants to talk about. After running over it with him in the beginning, it sounds kind of like this is almost going to be an interview of me by him. So for the most part, it's going to be me talking about the things that he has on his mind as a subscriber. So hopefully you can relate to the questions that he's asking and my answers. All right, so I guess that was a decent intro.
All right, well, I'm Nathan, better known as Nostalgic Nathan on my channel. Most of my channel consists of just like me singing and ASMR. I kind of want to like redirect my channel, like find like a new niche. Obviously, like I love like law of attraction videos and like manifestation and like personal development, kind of like what you're doing. And like you're one of my influences on YouTube. So yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity to like have this discussion and interview.
Of course.
So it's really cool.
Of course. And based on what you just said, like with the singing and then also law of attraction and all that stuff, what a coincidence. Next week's guest you're absolutely going to love. It's another one that I already know. It's not a subscriber.
Awesome.
Well, I guess she subscribes. I don't know. But yeah, she is huge into singing. Like she was studying it in college, and she's also really big into all the spirituality stuff as well. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out next week. But
that sounds exactly like me, because I feel like spirituality and meditation has helped me a lot, and like singing is very therapeutic for me. So
yeah, definitely. I'll go ahead and probably link her name in the description or send it to you or whatever. So
for sure. Awesome.
So where would you like to start?
On to the first question. Yeah. So let's get started on like what your channel stands for, and on behalf of me and like subscribers, like, confidence, productivity, happiness. Like how did you come up with like those three main points for like your YouTube channel?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. How did I come up with it? I've mentioned this before, maybe in a video or two, but that one video, I just released it totally on a whim. I just went in my backyard and like said it because it just came to my mind and I love the idea so much. It's like the two questions that you should be asking yourself all the time to stay like happy or whatever. It was, what is one small thing I can do right now to get me closer to any of my goals? So then that'll keep you kind of productive, because let's say you want to have a clean house, you'll say, okay, well, I can start by cleaning up this corner of my room. And then once you kind of start that, you'll get that momentum and probably end up doing a lot more than you even thought you would do to begin with.
Yeah, small steps into like a gradual effect.
Yeah, and so then that keeps you busy, keeps you productive, maybe even keeps you out of your head too. And then, how can I make this fun? So it's one thing to like be productive and getting stuff done all the time, but if you feel like you're burning yourself out and you're grinding and it's really tiring, then it's going to be hard to keep that up. So it's going to be good if you can actually like, just be like, find some way to make it fun. And so that was pretty much how I came up with the idea of like, get shit done, love every step. And then from there, obviously that's where the productivity comes from and the happiness. And then the confidence, I guess, was kind of residual from talking about social anxiety before, because confidence is almost like the opposite of social anxiety. Like by trying to overcome social anxiety, it's basically growing your confidence. And I do think confidence is super important to have like a good life, to perceive your life well. You have to feel like you are confident in your abilities and all that type of stuff. So that's and then I also learned that like it's nice if you have like a few things that your channel is about and you clearly state them, then it makes people kind of know what you're about. So I didn't want to just be like,
it makes them gravitate more towards you.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like just personal development or productivity or something like that, because that's like super vague. Like you want to have like a few specific things, even though they're actually not that specific. They're pretty vague words, but at least it kind of generates more of an image in your head. So I think
it gives them
just
like
about
a
answers
key
that
thing to like gravitate towards too. Like, like someone is lacking in the confidence department, they can like watch the confidence video to like bring that up. Or happiness, if they're feeling like depressed or sad or anxious because of like obviously the times that we're living in are crazy with the pandemic. Black Lives Matter, the upcoming election, all that, like just to bring some source of happiness, whether it be like a song or, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, on to more about YouTube. What kind of YouTubers have influenced you, like personally with your videos and like the topics?
Okay, so that's a great one. And I think this is a public thing, but when you go to my channel, on the right side of the homepage, there's a list of featured channels. And that is like just about the best spot to look at it. Like, in fact, I'm even looking at it now to like, take note. Definitely one of the biggest. He was the first one that I really started watching on YouTube in terms of personal development stuff is How to Beast, or David de las Morenas. He's awesome. He's just like, I guess like a lifestyle vlogger. He talks about like fitness and confidence and things like that. But he just does it really well. Like, he's always improving. You can tell through his videos. When you watch his videos from 2 years ago, which I started watching, and then even the ones like a year before that, you see how much he improved. And then you watch the ones from now, and they're just like on a whole nother level. And so
it's always like night and day difference.
Yeah. He's just always like getting a little bit better every video. And over time, you see that improvement, and it's awesome. And I respect the hell out of it. And then right now, my top inspiration, I'd say, while my channel doesn't really reflect it yet, is Matt Diavella, because I've just recently gotten into the idea of filmmaking and actually producing a very nice video where you have a good camera with the right settings and the right image composition and the right lighting, and do it like telling a story with good B-roll, all that type of stuff. That's kind of what I strive to do, whether it's on the YouTube channel or even just, I don't know. I've also just started a video production company. So something I want to be doing now is, I want to start making ads for companies. And so I want to kind of incorporate these filmmaking things in that as well. So yeah, I'm getting big into the filmmaking stuff now, and Matt Diavella is a huge inspiration.
He could inspire you in that way to like pursue that. Because I know he made a film on Netflix about minimalism. I have yet to watch it, but it seems very interesting to me.
Yeah, I watched that a long time ago before I knew that he made it. And it was only like a couple months ago that I realized, oh my God, he's the guy that made that.
And I also feel like he's like top tier YouTube. Like he's been doing it for such a long time, like kind of like Shane Dawson, like people have been doing it for like 10 years, you know? And I love like the 30-day experiment videos he does, kind of like the 30 days of meditation or 30 days of cold showers. Like it made me want to do it myself, and it's helped me like make it like a habit, you know, because I've been meditating for like 2 years now. I've been vegan for 2 years, and I've been doing cold showers ever since. Everything happened like 2 years ago when I first started watching his videos, and I really like applied it to my life. So it's amazing how much of an impact that YouTubers can make, and obviously you're making an impact by doing these podcasts and videos. So it's awesome.
Awesome, I appreciate it. And fun fact that I don't think anyone knows on this channel, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, I went vegan for 5 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago. But then like the main reason why I stopped is because I was just about to go study abroad in Spain for 6 months, and over there they do not even know what vegetarian is, much less vegan. Like they are eating ham, like eggs, cheese, like meat, and just everything all the time. And so I was like, I really don't think I'm gonna survive if I go there. So
and they have late dinners. They stay up late too. Like they have tapas, like small dishes. And so you brought up Spain. Where did you go to study abroad?
I studied basically in Madrid over the summer for 6 weeks. And then that next spring, I studied in Oviedo, which is up in the north, for a whole semester, so like 4.5 months. And then the very next day, went right back to that same Madrid trip from the summer before, only this time as a site leader. So they paid me to go and help out. So that was awesome. So that whole one was like 6 months plus the 6 weeks from the year before. So close to 8 months.
That's so cool that you got that experience. So it's crazy because I actually had a job lined up as a language assistant to teach English in Spain from October up until like May. And obviously these circumstances with the pandemic and everything, I physically like couldn't go because Madrid is in lockdown, and I was going to teach in Extremadura, and 2 of the schools I was going to teach at had positive cases. So I was like, oh man, kind of had to like redirect the job career thing, but it's fine. It's God's plan, and better things will come. And I know I'll be in Spain sure enough soon, because I was
Yeah.
there last year to travel with family, and I love Spain. Barcelona is amazing.
Yeah, me too.
That's only part of Spain I've been to, but I want to go to
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Madrid.
Barcelona's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Madrid's my favorite.
So
Let's see.
yeah, what did you learn about yourself during this quarantine? Obviously, it started in March, and now we're already in October, so time flew by. And yeah, kind of like, what did you learn about the world, and like, did you notice like any significant changes like with your daily routine and like how it affected you?
Well, the biggest thing that I noticed actually is probably the opposite lesson that most people learned. So obviously a lot of people maybe live alone or live with their parents or something, and being in quarantine, having to be stuck in the house, they realize they're alone all the time and they want to be with other people. For me, I've always lived alone. I mean, I lived with my parents obviously up until I was 18, but I mostly just stayed in my room, so it was almost like I was living alone in my room. And then all of college, for some reason, I had single dorms. I never had a roommate. And then now that I'm out of college, I've been living with a couple of roommates, and it's awesome. I love them. They're great guys, and we have a lot of fun and everything. But I'm starting to realize that like I need a lot of alone time for myself. I don't really know why, and I didn't really realize that so starkly until quarantine, because now everyone's working from home. It used to be I would work from home, and then everyone else was just working at their job, and so I had the house to myself all day. But now they're all working from home, and so now we're always all home, and I never have any time to myself. And even these last couple of weeks, it's been extra hard because my friend's car broke down, and he's been using my car sometimes, and we work at the same place and work out at the same place, so we'll just like drive everywhere together. So now I don't even have the car alone time to myself either. I'm just like completely surrounded by people at all times, and like I don't know why, I just can't handle that. Like I need some alone time for some reason. So that's definitely the biggest lesson I learned.
So but in terms you say you're like a ambivert, like introvert, extrovert, like a mix of the two depending on the situation? Because I feel like I'm the same way. Like I'm very introspective. Like I like my alone time, but then I love being around people. Yeah,
exactly. Same here. And I think it's just you have to find the right balance. Like all these last 6 months or so, it's been way too much people, not enough alone time. But I'm sure that if it was the other way around, I was living alone during quarantine and I never saw anyone for like 6 months, then I'm sure I'd probably be feeling kind of similar, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, and being like, oh man, I really need to see people. So yeah, I think it's all about striking a balance, at least for me.
So on to like another topic about like quarantine and everything, because a lot of people had like mental health issues, and I know like divorce rates are like up, and it's just crazy. It's just been like a whirlwind of emotions with everything that's been going on. So what do you think about like mental health and self-care, especially with these times, like putting it to the forefront?
Yeah, I'm realizing more and more like how important it is, and I almost wish they would like talk about it at school or something, like from a young age.
It's like taboo, and it shouldn't be, you know?
Yeah, it's like something you never even really think about until you're in like high school or college, and they're talking about like anxiety with tests and everything. It's like your first real exposure to it. So all I know right now is that I definitely think it's important, but what do you like want to know specifically?
Yeah, just basically like how you should use it in your life even beyond the pandemic, because I know like a lot of people have had to like deal with like inner issues and with like family. I know it's affected like everyone, like family wise and personally, career wise, how they can like implement like self-care habits to just get them like out of like a rut or like inner depression, because I know a bunch of people have been suffering like as a whole, you know, like not even the US, just like the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down a little bit to like knowing yourself, and also trying to, I guess, listen to your body or your soul or whatever you want to call it. Like sometimes you just want to do something, and sometimes it's good to just go with that and just do something just because you want to do it. And I would love to like prescribe something specific for people to do, like, oh, make sure you go read, or make sure you go meditate, or make sure you do this or that. But the truth is everyone is different, and everyone goes through different phases too. Like I've gone through different phases of this helps me at this time, or this helps me. So I feel like to try to say, oh, you should do this wouldn't really be that helpful, because everyone kind of knows what it is that they
what's
like.
Good for them, what's
good for
not
them.
Good.
And then if they don't know that, like I said, try to listen to your body, whether that means like try to meditate and then like whatever you're feeling, just try and go do that.
And since you brought up meditation, that's something that's been like a pillar for me, in that like I can't live without, like I don't know how I lived without it before, but I feel like it's been like so fundamental in my life. I always have to meditate at least like 15 to 30 minutes as soon as I wake up. Like basically my morning routine, like as soon as I wake up, I take a cold shower, I meditate for at least 15 to 30 minutes, and then I'll write like in my gratitude journal like 5 things I'm grateful for, just to start out my day. I don't even look at my phone, like I don't turn on my phone until like an hour after I wake up. So because I know a lot of YouTubers have said that too, like they always recommend that because of like social media and everything, how like the dopamine hits, like your brain isn't set up for that as soon as you wake up in the morning. Like you need time to like process and get into things.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. And so what do you say you don't even turn your phone on, or you mean you don't like check it, or you like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
for the
like
first hour?
I always turn off my phone at night, like right before I go to sleep, and then I turn on my phone an hour after I wake up. So like, say I set my alarm at like 8 a.m. I won't turn on my phone until like 9 or 9:15.
So do you ever like, or how do you deal with not wanting or feeling like almost a need to check it? Like for me, sometime within the first 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, whether I check my phone and then end up going on it forever, which I know they say is horrible for you, or if I just check it and then I see that there's nothing important and then I put it down. I don't know. For me, it's like, it would be hard to go for the whole first hour of my day not even knowing whether or not I had like a super important notification. You know what I mean? Like, how do you cope with that? How do you say like, okay, it doesn't matter what is on my phone right now for the whole first hour? Like, what if there's something like really important? You know, like that's my thing. That's what makes it hard for me to do this.
Yeah, as selfish as it sounds, like it's like about me at the end of the day. It's like what I feel, and yeah, like I let those things come into fruition when they're supposed to. So if it's really important, like obviously I'll get to it when it's like pertinent to me. So yeah, obviously like that's like external, like everything on your phone is external, but like what's most important is like how you like use this and your heart, you know? So I say that like your phone is always going to be there. Social media is always going to be there, but like you and your mind and your thoughts, that's like, you know, that's fleeting. Not every day is guaranteed. So
that's awesome. And
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, I guess that kind of just brought me to a pretty like interesting realization about myself, is that I think I sometimes struggle with that. I sometimes struggle with like putting myself first no matter what. Like you even just saw in the way that I asked you that question, it's like, how could you just not like look at your phone for an hour?
So you're learning
like,
from me and I'm learning from you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Cause like I guess I always have been one to like make sure I'm on top of things, being really responsible, making sure people are okay, that everyone's happy sort of thing. And so I guess that's kind of part of it. I don't want to like check my phone an hour after waking up and it's like, oh shoot, like I missed this really important thing because of that. Like I'd probably beat myself up because of it. But it is important to put yourself first sometimes like that. So that's awesome.
Right. So let's see. What would you tell your future self, or what would your future self tell your past self at the beginning of this pandemic? Like, what would you say? Like, oh, you know, like you're going to be going through this for these next few months, but you're going to overcome it. Like, what would you say? Obviously, we're still in the middle of it and
sort of
everything's uncertain.
Over here, it's too normal. It's like tonight, I hate to admit it, I'm going to a club for a straight up show. Like it's not even divided into sections and stuff. I saw Club Space in Miami. They have a little map where there's like sections you have to stay in there. This one is fully just open. Like it's just gonna be a totally normal show, and so that's gonna be interesting. But it's the Martinez brothers. It's the Martinez brothers for anyone who's interested. But so here it's really normal. So I'd almost say it feels like the pandemic is over here. But what would I say to myself? Wait, what was it again? What would I now
So like
say
your future self right now, like you currently right now, what would you say to like your past self, like at the beginning of like March or February when all of this happened? Like,
I would say just like do whatever you were gonna do, because where I am now, I'm happy with like the way that the pandemic went, the way the quarantine was. I am very happy with it. I feel like I stayed fairly productive, but also gave myself a lot of good like leisure time, but then also like, I don't know, I felt like I had a pretty good balance throughout the whole time. And honestly, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but it feels like this year has flown by. I don't know if it's because we're in the house, and so it feels almost like every day is kind of the same. And so it's like, oh, where did all those days go? Because every
they all
day
just blend
feels like
together.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that's it or what, but I'm pretty happy with how everything went. I even got the virus. That was interesting. But yeah, I mean,
how was that?
it was okay. I mean, you could watch my video about it. I made a video about it, and that's actually definitely one of my favorite videos that I've made. But yeah, it was fine. Like, obviously it affects everyone differently. There are people literally dying from it, and then there's people that don't even feel a single symptom. I was somewhere kind of in the middle, just general kind of pain. Like, my lower back hurt a lot for some reason for a few days. I was a little hot at night, never like threw up or anything, but just had a little bit of a fever. I think maybe a headache, I don't know, just general like sickness symptoms. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, thank you. Where were we going with that? What were we talking about? Oh, quarantine.
Yeah, just about like the future past self.
Yeah, honestly, I think everything's good. I can't think of what I would want to do differently. So yeah.
So you wouldn't change anything. You would just keep doing what you have been doing up until this point, you know?
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's good. So yeah, on to that point, like you were talking about the video where you contracted the virus and how you're most proud of that video. What other videos are you most proud of?
Yeah, one of the reasons I like that video is just that it's like, there's a lot more different stuff going on. It's not just me talking in front of a camera for 5 or 10 minutes. And I think I put it together pretty well. But then, let's see what else. Yeah, what other videos? For the exact same reason, I like the Randonautica video, because that one was like an interesting, it had a story. This is what I talked about in last week's episode of the podcast. Like, the videos where I'm just talking, it's like kind of boring, because like I'm just explaining something. It's not, there's no story, there's no character, there's no conflict, there's nothing at stake, there's no conflict resolution, none of that. Like, it's just, here's what you can do to make your life better. Like, it's like, that's what I'm struggling to do on my channel, is figure out a way to incorporate storytelling and filmmaking into all these like life lessons that I've learned and want to share with everyone else. So Randonautica was really cool.
Together.
Yeah, so the Randonautica one was cool because of the story, but then it didn't really have anything to do with my channel. But just the way that I put it together, and also the watch time on it is crazy. It's like, I think 8 or 9 minutes out of the 17 minutes, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, that's another one I'm pretty proud of. Those are the two off the top of my head that I can think of that I'm most proud of.
What do you think was the most challenging, like one that you didn't like filming?
Didn't like filming?
Yeah, that was hard for you. Because I know there's some YouTubers that take like months on a video, just like editing it, because they filmed it like a certain month and it was from like a span of 3 months. Like, I know like Matt Diavella with like the 30-day experiments, obviously that's going to take a whole month to film. Exactly.
Yeah. I guess that one that I tried to do, the first one that I tried to kind of emulate his style on, was the meditation one, where I meditated every day for an hour. That was pretty hard because you had to film every day, like a little piece, and then also like a little thing at the beginning and the end. So it was a little bit harder to stay on top of, and that's kind of what I wanted to do also with this 30-day experiment I recently did, but didn't really do a good job making the video of it. It was the one about like doing something that I love for an hour every day. For some reason, I just didn't end up really filming throughout the process, which is kind of the most important part.
You're having too much fun doing the thing.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually the kind of the flaw in it, is that filming sometimes can be hard and like almost like weigh down on me mentally, because I'm like, oh man, like how am I going to film this? I hope I say it right, whatever. And so combining that like burden, for lack of a better word, with this hour that's supposed to be freeing and nice and fun and everything, it didn't make any sense. You know, it's like, okay, I'm about to do something I love, but then I have to figure out how I'm gonna film it, and like, and it made it like, it wasn't really gonna work out that well. And so I'm kind of glad I did it without filming it, because it made it a little bit more pure. I got to feel actually what it feels like without the camera or whatever. So But yeah, that would have been a much better final product though if I did have like stuff throughout the process. But oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to wrap it all up together, any questions for me? Anything that you thought of like in the process of me asking you questions?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm just looking over the stuff we've already talked about and some stuff that I kind of missed. I guess it's actually all wrapped into one little bundle, but you kind of wanted to know, I guess, what channel, like what direction my channel would be going in.
Right.
Like what type of videos I'll be making and stuff. And so that's an
like
interesting
2021, like October up until
Well, yeah, I mean, for these next few months, it'll probably be a combination of this podcast and maybe a couple other experimental videos. Not like 30-day experiment type thing, but I mean, me experimenting with the style. Like, there are actually a couple interesting topics that I've come up with where if I can find a way to tell a story creatively around it, that it would be really cool. But I'm not sure if those are going to work out or not. But I think I might give those a try, as well as a few more episodes of this podcast. And then I'm not even really sure what else, just whatever kind of feels right. Because I'm definitely in a very experimental part of the channel because I'm getting to a crossroads where it's like, I'm not sure if I want to keep talking about exactly the things that I'm talking about in the way that I'm talking about them. And so I might have like an official kind of rebranding of the channel right around the turn of the year again, which is actually when I did this last rebranding. Because the biggest thing that's changed in my head is that this whole channel is kind of a reflection of where I'm going through in my own personal growth at the time. And so you can see how that kind of progresses. And so what I've been learning recently is that I used to think that personal growth was just like the trump card, the like as long as you're improving yourself, like awesome, like there's nothing wrong with that, it's perfect. And then I've started to realize that it's not necessarily perfect because in fact, actually the whole idea of wanting to get better implies a sense of lack to begin with, and that you're not good enough already, and that like there's some way that you can get better, and that you're trying to find that happiness externally through the next book or the next course that you take or the next concept that you learn about.
It's like an ongoing struggle of like,
and so
am I
it's
good
like,
enough, you know?
And so it's almost like Alan Watts. I don't know if you've listened to much Alan Watts, but
I've heard of him.
He kind of put it in a way where it's like, in the beginning, you start out with just like simple pleasures. You just chase like good food, like sex, like partying, drinking, all that stuff. And then you realize, oh, like, you know what? I'm better than that. So then you move up to like learning about stuff like literature and art, and you feel all happy about that. But then you go into like wanting to improve yourself and like psychoanalysis and learning how the brain works and everything. And then you start to realize like, oh, like, you know what, spirituality. And then you just basically keep going deeper. And then you start to think like that there's some spiritual thing that can be given to you that will make you just better or whatever. And it turns out once you've gotten to that point where you're still looking for that goodie, he calls it, you're still looking for the exact same thing you were seeking in the very beginning. You've just kind of glorified it and made it holy and stuff rather than like just chasing a candy bar. Now you're chasing this like whatever it is.
It's like the never-ending circle of life.
Exactly. And so he kind of says that like nirvana or enlightenment is when you kind of realize that it's all just a wash and that you kind of give up looking for that answer. And I feel like that's kind of the area that I'm getting to now, because I've been so convinced for so long that I'm gonna find the thing that's gonna make my life better, and it never is. Like it helps, but it's not like that life changing. And so that's kind of the point where I'm getting to now. And so I'm starting to realize like it's almost better. Oh man, I don't know how long this has been off for, but I'm gonna restart that. But
you're good.
Yeah. But anyway, wow, that just like threw me off. But yeah, so that's the thing. I'm getting tired of basically on the channel just trying to tell people this is that new trick that you should do because this is gonna make your life better. I'd rather start just sharing my experiences, because I think in the end that's kind of what's more important.
Relatable.
Yeah, it's more relatable. It's also a little bit less conceited. Like, because honestly, to like give people advice almost implies that you think you're better, you know, and I don't want that to be the case. I'd rather, because I don't really think I'm better. I just think I've spent more time than the average person looking this type of stuff up. And so,
mastering your craft and so personal development.
And so I feel like have some good insights about this type of stuff, but at the same time, nothing that I say is necessarily going to be true 100% of the time for whoever I'm telling it to. And so, yeah, in terms of my channel direction, we'll see. I think it's going to be pretty fluid. Like, we'll see. Like, that's why I'm doing this podcast too, because it can go in so many different directions, and it's so dynamic, and it's not just me trying to think of a topic that I think you want to hear about and then make a video about it. Like, that's kind of
it can go in all directions.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much to talk about.
Yep. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And so, yeah, that's the only other thing that I could see from our list of topics that I wanted to cover. And then, yeah, so then the other thing that I was going to ask you was, what do you kind of like or don't like about my channel, or what would you like to see in the future? Anything like that, just from your perspective as a subscriber. Like, what have you liked about it, not liked, etc.?
Yeah, I've liked pretty much everything that you've like talked about, like the confidence, productivity, happiness, like where we started on. Yeah, and just the whole podcast thing. I think that's a great redirection for your channel, kind of like a side channel within your channel, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And yeah, just the whole rebranding thing. It's just like a self-learning process of like where you want to go. And honestly, don't really have any negatives. Just, I guess the only negative I would say is you had to find a like more concrete niche. Obviously you have like those three things, and then just finding that brand that makes you obviously, like, that's a process within itself. It's not going to happen overnight. Like, what is Michael Dennis known for, you know?
Yep. Exactly. Because that's also my thing now, is like when I look back at my videos, it's a really mixed bag. And it's not that I almost did that on purpose, because I wanted to figure out what videos I like to make, what videos people respond well to. Like, I've tried just about every type of video with every topic. Like, I've tried so many different things, which is great. It's good for my learning and figuring out what direction I want to take the channel. But for someone visiting my channel, you never know what you're going to get. Like, when I tell someone, oh, you should check out my channel, I start thinking in my head, I wonder which video they're going to watch and what the hell they're going to think of me, because they're all so different. There's so many where I'm just sitting there talking to the camera, and then there's ones where I'm like going out doing something, like the Randonautica or the vlog or the coronavirus.
It makes me think
like,
of Forrest Gump, like life is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your channel, they're gonna get like a piece. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it just immediately makes me wonder, like, I wonder what they think of me based on that one video that they saw. And so I would like to have something more consistent, where it's like, if I recommend my channel to someone, I know, okay, no matter which video they watched, this is kind of more or less like the idea, you know?
It will be like something more along the lines of like confidence, or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, and I feel like it could turn out maybe like the Matt Diavella style a little bit, like, because his, I feel like it is very much just him sharing his experiences, but in a really creative way with his filmmaking and storytelling and stuff. And I think it's going to take practice to get there. It's really a lot harder than I thought it would be to tell a story and all that. But yeah, I think maybe one day I could get there. We'll see.
Awesome.
All right, so that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much, Nathan, for being on. Really enjoyed talking to you. And next week's podcast guest is not going to be a random one. This one's going to be another friend of mine. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, someone that I think Nathan would actually like very much. Her name is Juliana Lemos, and she's a singer and big into spirituality. I don't know, I'll let her explain herself next week when she's on the show. But it's going to be a very interesting conversation, I think, because she's going to tie in the concepts of spirituality with things like singing and speaking and all that, which I've actually been really interested in recently. So yeah, with that being said, don't forget to sign up for the podcast if you haven't already, because you could be on the show just like Nathan, and we could talk about whatever you want to talk about. You could pretty much interview me, almost like what this was, or I could ask you about stuff. It can go really whatever way you want it to go. And also, if you're not going to be on the podcast and you still want to talk to me, you can sign up on my Patreon page for one-on-one coaching, either once a week or once a month. All right, so again, Nathan, thank you so much. It's been a good time, and yeah, peace.